self-monitoring. So self-monitoring, we are focused on helping staff to build their capacity to create the change that they hope to see. And I'm Colleen Paplow, and I have the privilege of leading this team. And on this call, we also have Dina and Megan. Did Michael join in? I'm not sure.
Michael's
did. Yeah, he joined us.
And Michael's with us. And then I'm not sure if Anissa was able to join today. And Andy's on holiday, but he will be back to help support. So, but before we get into some of the resources that we have to help guide this work, we wanted to step back and, why, focus on why we're doing this. I used to think that prior to the pandemic, everybody was working as hard as they could. And the pandemic proved to us that we could even pile more on. But I do think that people are stretched and we have more, we can't handle any more. So why would we monitor? Like, what's the payoff if we're going to engage in this work? Well, we need to know if what we're doing is working so that we can work efficiently and stop the things that are not law for us. So it's about working smarter rather than harder. You see that I made a subtle plug for the podcast. But we have to make sure that what we're doing is efficient work because we just can't work any harder. So if we're going to set out on an initiative and we're going to ask staff to spend their time on it, doing either rolling out new professional learning or engaging in whatever new curriculum or new say it's technology that they're rolling out and they're having to learn this and master how to utilize this. We want to make sure that we're asking folks to do something that is meaningful and bringing about the change that we hope to see. So, for example, if you were going to do like a weight loss or maybe a wellness program and you wanted to say, well, you could look and say, okay, after 5 years, I could look at my blood work from the doctor, my physical, and see that my cholesterol has come down and my A1C's in a better place and everything looks great. But waiting 5 years to know if my wellness program is working isn't really going to help me want to eat a salad over a cheeseburger, right? So I need some earlier indicators along the way to indicate that I'm moving in the right path. It also helps you to know whether you're on the right, on track to get those better test results at the end of the 5 years. So you want to know, like, what are my early indicators? Maybe I started feeling less tired and less lethargic. Those might be indicators that this wellness, this eating healthier and maybe exercising more may be starting to pay off. And I can look for those early indicators to know that what I'm doing is making a difference. So it is really about working smarter and making more efficient choices and getting rid of those things that aren't paying off. And so that we're not asking staff to do work that's not beneficial. So before I think I'm going to go ahead and turn this over now to Dina, who's going to walk you through a little example of a project that we're embarking on.
Okay. Thank you, Colleen. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So we are a data-driven district, and we as DRA want to strengthen the skills of the staff who deal with data, who monitor their efforts, and those who coordinate any educational programs. Today, we are doing a very short session, mostly trying to focus on your questions, but also I want to stress that we're here to provide support for you at every step of the way, beginning at with planning your program, planning it out. I am thinking that when you think about planning your efforts, think about standard treatment protocol when you support students. It's something that we all use and we all teach the schools how to use. So we as a department, as a team, want to put you on your way to show you how to plan your program coordinating efforts. Each activity each strategy that you have as part of your program should be aligned with the needs of the program and your ultimate goals. So we can think of the program self-monitoring process as a metaphor and compare it to self-monitoring to building a home to live in. So when we have a house built, we first have to start with a blueprint, a plan to help us to know exactly how the house is going to look like, where exactly it's going to be located in the community, and what is the type of home that we want to build, 1-story or 2-story. So that's the best time for us to step in and help you support all your efforts and discuss the details of construction. Once we drafted the image of the house, we want to know how the house will look like. So then we proceed with construction efforts. However, before you have the house built entirely and ready to move in, we have to first deal with the framing. When you have the roof, you have the floor, and the walls, but the house is not finished yet. So as the framing is built, we have to also think before the framing is built, we have to think about the well-built and strong foundation so that the house can withstand all the weather conditions, especially nowadays. And utilities need to be set up, and the survey of the location needs to be conducted. All of these are your strategies that you use to achieve your goals, and see how you walk through implementation to short-term goals and long-term goals. At each construction stage here, we are to help you and support you through all your activities, whether you want to conduct focus groups or surveys or collect any other feedback. And finally, after you move into your house, if you encounter any problem with painting, air conditioning, or heating, we may also help. In our case, it's analyzing your survey results, displaying those in figures and graphs. We can support you with that also. And we can support you in deciding what your next steps will be. And back to you, Colleen.
Actually, we're going to bounce to Megan.
Oh.
Great, thanks, Dina and Colleen. So I just wanted to carry off of what Dina was talking about in terms of the support we provide. So the program accountability team offers differentiated support to help meet your needs. And so we created this graphic, which displays the 4 levels of support that our team provides the district. So level 4, this top pink level, is program evaluations. And this is the most intensive level of support. The program accountability team conducts about 4 to 8 evaluations a year, and a team member is attached to each of the evaluations, which are reported to the board. These evaluations are determined by leadership as well as a selection rubric, which take into account priority, scope, and budget. We do the lion's share of the work with these program evaluations, but we do collaborate with program staff to create a logic model, as well as sharing formative feedback that informs their work and then hopefully strengthens fidelity of implementation. And that brings us to level 3, self-monitoring, one of the reasons why we're here today. Both level 4 and 3 fit under board policy. For self-monitoring, the policy specifies that we will support program staff in their monitoring efforts and helping determine if their programs are effective or not. So a program accountability team member is assigned to each of the programs and is there to lend support throughout the year. And as Dina was saying, we're there to help in each step of the way of building that house. So this level is all about creating ownership of the process as well as skill building. So level 2 is planning tools and data analyses. So at this level, still staff can still get support from us, but it's more on an ad hoc basis. So for example, we might get some data requests or requests to review logic models and provide feedback to strengthen them. But this level isn't as systematic level of support as is level 3, self-monitoring. Level 1 is our online resources, which are available to everybody in the district. And I'm going to go through them very briefly right now because on the next slide, I'm going to provide a bit more information. But included in these resources, we have 2 Learning Central courses. We've also posted several DRA forecasts. And as Colleen did a plug at the beginning, we do have a podcast. So this slide going a little bit more in depth about those resources. Forecasts, we have posted several forecasts on our DRA intranet webpage. And they cover various topics such as how to select a program that is effective, best practices in conducting focus groups, and different methods of virtual data collection. We also have 2 Learning Central courses we invite you to check out. One is Monitoring the Success of Your Efforts, which provides more detailed information and resources for the self-monitoring process. And we also have a survey development course. So if you want to learn how to collect your own survey data, this is a great course for you to check out. And we have a podcast called Work Smarter, Not Harder, which is intended for staff who are involved in program development, implementation, as well as self-monitoring. So we've talked with several of your colleagues, one of whom I see is joining us today, and they've shared their experiences with us about the self-monitoring process and how it's helped them with their work and overcome some hurdles. So some topics that we've explored so far include today's topic of understanding the why. We've explored logic models, using data to help you find that need, and how to actually measure your goals. So we know you all are incredibly busy. So if any of these resources are grabbing your attention, your program accountability team member can certainly share these with you, save you the time of having to search our intranet for them. So just plug your person if any of these stand out to you, and we're happy to send them your way. Okay, so next up for sharing your findings, I'm sure many of you have questions about sharing your results and that product we ask you to share with us at the end of the year. This year, we actually have 3 formats for you to choose from. Previous years, we've had 1 or 2, but this year we're adding a 3rd. So as a resource for you to refer to, your assigned program accountability team member will share templates and examples of these 3 formats for you. And they'll also go more in depth when meeting with you throughout the year, more in depth on what is expected to include in each of these 3, as well as provide you with feedback. So for the 3 formats, the first one is the status report, which is the first format we used when the self-monitoring process started in Wake County. But we do acknowledge there are other formats for you to share your work. So we went ahead and added the poster format. We thought it would be a way for you to be able to share your hard work widely with the district. We viewed it as maybe more of a creative way for you to share your results and put them on display. But then we decided as a team, we wanted to add a 3rd option. And we're really particularly excited about this 3rd option because our team wants to provide program staff. We want program staff to come away from this process with a usable product. We don't want it to be viewed as something extra they have to do on top of the mile-high to-do list they have. So we want it to be something useful you can build off of. So we thought that program staff would be more likely to present a slide deck either to their staff at team meetings or even to the board. So we thought this particular slide deck format might be more appealing and useful to the work. But when selecting which option to use, we just encourage program staff to pick the option that is most useful and beneficial to their work.
So as promised, we wanted to leave space for questions. And so we open it up to any questions that you might have or any questions that you kind of came up with as you were listening to us talk today, or any questions that you came to this meeting with. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question. So we can change the format that we used previously
You can
to
indeed.
one of the three. Okay.
And we're really excited about the new slide deck because we really want folks to understand how this monitoring work can be beneficial, and we want it to be something that you can use in your, so like Megan said, either presenting to your team or presenting, if you're asked to present to leadership. We want it to be something that you can use, and then you can say, oh yes, by the way, I need to turn it in as well. But we want it to be a product that is helpful. Any other questions?
I have a question. I came late to the meeting, I'm sorry, but so every year I have to do a report for my program. Can you give me a deadline? I'm gonna deadline so I make sure that I have it, that I gather all my data on time, and I want to make sure that I have ample time to get my report ready.
That's a
To you
great
guys.
question. I did not, even though Maria Rosa and I are friends, I did not ask her to ask that question, but it's a wonderful question because it allows me to tell you guys about one of the processes we're building in. So we're going to be doing a little bit more formative feedback this year. So we're going to ask those participating in self-monitoring to give us pieces of what will go into your final product. So for example, the first piece might be the need with data embedded, supporting that need. And that way your PA contact person can give you feedback on that. And so at the end, so usually, I think we usually ask for something to be turned in May so that we can give feedback, and it's June is the deadline. But what we're hoping is I'm going to set up a Google folder, and you guys we can communicate back and forth and share in this interactive environment, so that really it's just a copy and paste by the end into the format of your choosing. Any other questions, either about the monitoring process in general or specifically our self-monitoring process? I know we had some pre-questions around survey development, so I do want to reinforce what Megan said about the survey course, because that is available for staff to learn more about what it takes to write survey questions and put together a good survey, so that if you are collecting your own data. Now, part of the self-monitoring, you don't have to collect your own data. If there's pre-existing data, we would encourage you to use that. But if you are interested in collecting new data through a survey, we do have support for that as well. Any other questions?
I have one. So does self-monitoring go on for the life of your time with Wake County, or do you graduate at some point?
That's another great question. I promise I did not stock the pond here. Thank you, Granville, for that question, because yes, last year we did put in a kind of a graduation process. We were able to graduate a program out of the process last year, but given the coming out of the pandemic and that we're not it wasn't fully functioning. This year, it will be fully functioning. So as staff master these specific skills, and the superintendent will be sending out a letter soon to staff that has more detail about this year's process. But as you master the components of like aligning, providing a need with backed up with data and aligning the need to strategies and those components that we're going to give you formative feedback on. We're hopeful by the end of the year, folks that have mastered those, that practice and are feeling comfortable and confident in this work will be able to, I guess, graduate out of the process, or and of course they're going to continue to do this work similar to any professional learning. The expectation is that once you're not mastered the process until you have ownership and alignment with your work, so that you see that this is the work that you'll continue to do, and then that is kind of the sign that you're ready to no longer receive extra support. So you'll continue without the self-monitoring. So you'll bump down from tier 2, or was it tier 3, down to tier 1 level support, which you can still ask for ad hoc support from us, but you won't have a team member who's designated to help you anymore. But once you feel like, and once we've gotten those pieces to the level where we feel comfortable and you feel comfortable with the process, then we'll be able to move you out to continue your work on your own.
So Colleen, I wanted to ask the question, once a product, which might be a report or a poster or a slide deck, is ready, can we think of any other uses except sharing it with the superintendent more? What are the uses of that product? I know some of my staff were successfully able to use their product for multiple purposes.
I mean, I use my data to be part of my evaluation as well, that I am increasing parent academies, because that's what I do my report on the Family Academy program that I oversee. But I also use it for presentations to let people know, especially in the community, what we are doing. And but I also use the data to indicate how to improve my program, as far as new topics for parents, new areas where we might need to add more resources as far as more parent trainings. So I honestly love my data. Even if I graduate tomorrow, I will still continue doing what I do, because it really dictates the future and also the resources that I need to continue doing the work.
Thank you.
Very well said. Any other questions or comments? Request? Anything that we can do to support you? We are, like I said, I'm going to put together the Google folder, and we'll start populating that with information for you to slide in your first request, and your team member who's attached to you will be reaching out to ask for information from you, and then giving you feedback along the way. So then by the end of the year, it is our hope that those sections will all be strong and updated and can be just slid into whichever product resonates mostly with you and with the work that you do. So Maria Rosa, if you feel like the presentation style might, the slide deck style might be more in what you would normally use, then you can use that style and then submit that rather than a full report.
No, I like the way I do mine now.
Well, you are one of our top students, so good job.
Say that again. Say that again, please.
It is Maria Rosa is one of the colleagues on this call that have participated in our podcast, so you can listen to how she more information about how she uses the data. And Granville as well has helped us out by talking through some of the areas of, doing the monitoring work and what are some of the benefits and what have been some of the challenges, so that you can hear from your colleagues if you're new to this process.
One more question.
And I think I'm printed off a couple. I wanted to make sure that we covered any of the questions that we had. A couple of pre-questions before the session. As far as making goals measurable, I think was a question. How do we go about doing that? This is the kind of support that we can give throughout the year. Because it's going to depend a little bit on your program and what measures are going to be best. But we do want to make sure that whatever goals you come up with, there's a way of knowing if that's happening. So if, like, for instance, in my health and wellness example, I need to have some way of knowing if I want to measure against, say, my blood sugar, I'd have to have some way of testing that, right? You can't say you're going to bring down your blood sugar and never have a way of measuring it. So there's got to be some way of measuring along the way. And so you'll work with your team member to make sure those short and intermediate and long-term goals have some way, whether it's a survey, it might be a focus group, it might be existing data that's already being collected that you can use to attach to your goals, so that you know that you're making progress. All right, so I think that's all the questions that I had pre-done. Any other questions from our folks that are on the call today that would like to, or any comments that you'd like to make? All right, well, hearing none, I would just like to thank those who were able to join us today and participate in our kickoff. I'm very excited about this year because some of the changes, I'm hoping that you'll feel more ownership and alignment in your work, so that we are strengthening the work that you're busily engaging in, rather than making you feel like you have one more thing, because that would definitely not be our intention. We really want to support the work that's being done in the district. We know that you are all engaging in very important work that is moving us forward, and we just want to help give you evidence of that. And so we enjoyed having you here today, and thank you so much for participating.
Thank you all.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.